This is a Film Stories original podcast.
Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether mom's into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried-and-true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now, you can save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with up to 50% off site-wide during Movement's Mother's Day sale at MVMT.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at MVMT.com.
We made this.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Xcast. The truth is in here. I'm your host, Tony Black, and this is I Want to Believe Minute, where we unpick the second X-Files movie 1 minute at a time. Today, helping me to explore minute 8, running from approximately 7 minutes in, with Scully entering Mulder's house, through to 7 minutes 59, as Mulder asks Scully, who believes in that crap anymore, is writer and podcaster Adam Chamberlain back again. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you for having me back, and I still believe in all of that crap. But,
me too. No, it's great to have you back, and this is kind of an important minute, really, because this is where we get to see our main man Fox Mulder for the first time. But before we get to that, we were talking in the last minute as Scully enters Mulder's house a little bit about the aesthetics of the house and everything in there, and you wondered whether how much time she might spend there. So what do you think is the answer to that question? Because obviously, she stays over a little bit later in the film. They're still obviously engaged in some sort of romantic relationship. But
yes.
Do you think she's there a lot?
And maybe she is. I think it's actually one of the remarks she makes as she walks in about. I think it's about his sort of attitude towards his security or something, and it felt like, well, has this changed day to day? Has this changed since yesterday or something? It felt like maybe she'd not been there in a little while, but I could be misreading that. But I think maybe the place wouldn't look quite so cluttered. You'd think perhaps if she spent more time there. But equally, we've seen her at the hospital. Maybe she just spends a lot of time there at work, given how intense that job and her involvement in Christian's case is. Maybe it's more that she's just spending a huge amount of time at work. But yeah, it's quite clear that as you say, she stays over and stuff. She's spending at least some time here.
Yeah, I would imagine she sort of mixes her time between hospital, staying with Mulder, staying in her own place, presumably seeing her mom, seeing her family, things like this. And yeah, so she's probably torn between three different places. But if she lived here more, it would. I don't think it would be quite as. I mean, it's not a terrible mess. It's not like strewn with crap everywhere, but there is that Mulder-ish level of a little bit of neglect at this point with the whole place. It's a little bit like he doesn't spend probably a lot of time in that living room area. He's mainly probably locked away in his study in the middle of everything he's doing, to the point there's like some bowls of food that are left out, some drinks. There's a bottle of juice actually there that was Chris Carter's juice he was drinking on set while he was filming, and he just finished it. He was going to throw it away, and he's like, no, I'll put it there. Just, it's a very Mulderish thing. Just to leave it there, which is very good.
Blame Mulder for it.
Mulder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It makes me feel better about my place, that how cluttered my place is. It's not as bad as Mulder's here.
Yeah, I was definitely a Mulder when I lived on my own, I have to say. I lived in absolute tip sometimes. But being married now, there's no chance of that, which is a good thing. I've definitely got my own Scully who keeps that in check. We then enter the study, and we see the door to Mulder's study, don't we really? Which is full of notes, and at the very centre of it is a very important person to the X-Files mythology in his sister Samantha, who we haven't seen for a while actually at this point, have we? To be fair, in terms of there being a lot of focus on Samantha. It doesn't feel, since closure in season 7, it doesn't feel like they did a lot with that, really, understandably.
They didn't know, and I guess I wonder whether, again, it's a sort of returning to the reminder of the essence of the character and what drove him initially on his mission and all the rest of it. It's not. I don't think it's mentioned. I don't think that picture's mentioned in the script, interestingly. But it's obviously, as you say, it's important. It's quite important in this scene as well. But I guess it's something. Clearly, it still carries importance for Mulder, and we're reminded of that.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's dialing into the core aspect of Mulder's character. Because I suppose fans might think, well, like, that's resolved, right? You know, people who watched it all for that time would be think, well, okay, of course he's going to remember his sister. He'd have pictures of her up. You know, that's not strange in any way. But the way she's in that door and she's surrounded by Arcanum makes it almost feel like she's at the centre of a mystery and a map that he hasn't figured out yet. And that's not true anymore. That's kind of like, well, he has resolved that, really. He does know, in many ways, what happened to Samantha by this point. So, I don't know. I think it's one of those things you've got to kind of... I suppose that's the balancing point between, I want to believe, servicing fans and servicing a broader audience, isn't it? That kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess it's... I mean, she's still absent from his life, even though he got some answers, obtuse and strange answers as they were. I guess I can see why... I don't know. It worked for me. I think that like you say, it had been a gap, but it worked for me as a reminder and as to why she might still be in his head, and he might still reflect on this.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think generally about the study then that he's in? What do you think about the design of that and everything?
Yeah, it's really is like almost like he's taken the basement office, and there's a vibe of that with all this stuff pinned around everywhere, and right down to the poster and everything. He hasn't quite left any of that behind either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's the poster comes in, I think, in the next minute technically, but yes, absolutely, it's all still there. You're absolutely right. I think it is replicating that basement office. You know, he's not let go of the X-Files, has he? Really? You know, it's still
absolutely
still core to who he is. He's just investigating them without the FBI, basically.
Absolutely. Well, there's even a filing cabinet in there too, right? There's a tall filing cabinet that almost looks like he'd taken it out of the office as well. But anyway,
right? Yeah. I think that's probably it, isn't it? In your head canon, Adam, do you think he still investigates things? Do you think he still goes out and like as a rogue guy or just a random like PI almost investigates weird stuff in his spare time?
I think he probably does. I mean, it's clear that he's keeping his head down here, but I think he probably does, but probably less effectively. I mean, he's not going to have the resources that he had when he was at the FBI to really do so terribly effectively. But I very much doubt he'd have let this stuff go completely. So in my head, he does. Yeah. What about you? Do you think he does?
I think to a degree. I think like you say, he doesn't have the FBI. You know, who can just write money. He can just like pay for his bills. He just until an auditor comes and tells him off. He can't just do that, can he? Now he can't just put it on the account, the FBI account. It would cost money, you know, to be doing all that. So maybe not. Maybe at points he does, but I do think he's probably in that study a lot, isn't he? And he's just doing like internet research and stuff. But I'd like to think that would have made a great comic series. Just Mulder, without the FBI, just going off, even if he was on his own, just him, just going off and investigating some weird stuff, you know. But
absolutely.
Hey ho, somebody's probably fanfic that, I'm sure, at some point.
Probably.
But yeah, we get him. He's introduced from behind in this case, and his first line is "What's up, Doc?" which obviously is a little nod to Looney Tunes, as well as being a reference to Scully being a doctor. What do you think about the shooting of this? It really reminded me of the pilot, and it in terms of Scully entering the room, Mulder's got his back to her, he's at his desk, he's doing stuff, he's talking to her before he turns round. What did you make of it?
It does. It is really reminiscent, and as you said before, I'm sure all these choices are very purposeful, and that was done very deliberately as this sort of reintroduction of bringing these two characters together. It's such a pivotal scene, and the fact that it it reflects back on that initial meeting is it's really nice. I really like the scene in general.
It's I think visually interesting in that it keeps him. We don't see his face till the very end of the minute, and he's talking, isn't he? And he's saying a very florid monologue at one point.
It's very Mulder, isn't it? Auf eine Wellenlänge, right? Which I had to go and translate on the same wavelength. I think is how that German phrase translates. That he then talks about more and more this precognitive state, whatever. That's pure Mulder, that little speech, isn't it?
I think you've written it down in notes. It says, a precognitive state often confused with simple human intuition in which the brain perceives the deep logic of transitory existence unaided by the rational mind.
Only Mulder could come out with a sentence like that. So, yeah.
If I was Scully, I'd be like, are you not going to ask me how I am? Like, before we do this. Like, how's your day been?
She's like, of course.
How's your day been, Deana? Yeah.
I'm sure she's used to it.
Yeah, probably. Well, that's the thing. She immediately just sort of folds her arms as if to go, okay, this is what he does, you know. And there's a nice... She does that in a lovely way, actually. It's not out of frustration. It's just out of, okay, he's doing the Mulder thing, you know, which is lovely, actually.
It is lovely, and it's the sense of, obviously they've moved on in their lives, but in terms of the dynamic that the two of them have... They haven't moved on. It's just like they were still in that basement, and it's just transported here. Yeah.
I think they immediately click into it straight away, like in this scene. Like, it doesn't feel like they've been away at all, and I think that's a testament to how it's written for sure, but the way these two just have a natural, brilliant chemistry between each other, and they can read each other completely. And much like Gillian finds Scully straight away, David again completely finds Mulder in this moment, and I think it's just great that I think it's great that, you know, he's immersed in this environment, and he's shocked because he's cutting up an article that we see in the next minute as he's talking to Scully, and you just get a real flavour of a person in this, the way it's shot, and I think that's in part, obviously, like I said before, about trying to appeal to new audiences, but also. I think it's just quite really good visual storytelling from Carter in this way.
It is, absolutely, yeah, and like you say, it works for fans who are seeing something that reminds them of something familiar, but it also for brand new viewers gives you the sort of essence of his character and the essence of the dynamic between him and Scully. Yeah, it's a great scene in every respect. Just
going back to the study and things, a quick point about the artwork. So a lot of the artwork in the office came from an artist who's based in Vancouver and has a gallery, who is called Monica Reyes, and who Carter named the character after in Vancouver, which is a nice little touch. So there's little tethers to the past of the X-Files, and there's a piece of artwork that's quite significant that's coming up in the next couple of minutes that we'll talk about as well.
So Monica Reyes is in the movie.
She kind of is. Yeah. In just a slightly different way. But I think we need to finish this minute, Adam, talking about one of the most important things in the whole of I Want to Believe. And yes, It's the beard.
I said this was a perfect scene. It's a perfect scene apart from the beard for me. But anyway, yeah. Oh, the beard.
The beard. So he turns, as he says... But who believes in that crap anymore, as he's talking about ESP, and we see Mulder, and obviously that's part of the impetus of this scene, isn't it? Because we're meant to go, oh my god, he's got a beard. Like
that's exactly what I did. I probably said that out loud in the cinema. Yeah.
And he's never, as far as I can remember, Adam, he never had a beard at any point in the show. I can't remember.
I think you're right. He might have showed up unshaven here and there, but I don't think he's ever had a beard. No.
He was a bit unshaven, I reckon, probably in season 2, after Scully gets abducted. He looked a bit rough at that point. I want to say, did he have a beard at any point in The Truth? Oh, he might do when he's in prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he does, actually.
I don't know. I could be completely wrong. But
can any X-Files beard enthusiasts let us know for sure? I'm sure you're out there. But yeah, this is the ultra beard. This is what I call the beard of sadness, Adam, because and I'm sure you've seen it in lots of other TV shows and movies. One that came after. No, it was around the same time as this actually. That really stood out to me was Matthew Fox in Lost, where I don't know how familiar you are with Lost, but at one point the character of Jack is at his lowest ebb, and he's got a very Mulderish beard like this. And he has to. Fantastic. He only shaves it off when he starts to reconcile with what he needs to do next.
The one that made me think of was Joe Flashman in Northern Exposure when he disappears off up river. I don't know if you know Northern Exposure, but towards the end of his run on that series.
Okay, what happens to him?
So he's in this tiny town in Alaska, and then he ends up going to a job even further out of this town, just in the middle of nowhere, to this little settlement by a river, and he decides to stay there, and he grows this beard, and it's kind of him. In some ways it's him sort of finding himself, but yeah, he only loses the beard after he's sort of resolved how that episode, that whole thread of his character resolves at the end of his story in Northern Exposure. So, but yeah, same thing, I think. Yeah, the beard of sadness.
Maybe the better description of it is the beard of self-discovery in that case.
Maybe, yes, there you go.
Because Mulder definitely he goes through a period where he's brought back into the light by Scully here, and he shaves it off. And then, you've got... same happens in Lost, same happens in Northern Exposure. So maybe the beard of self-discovery following sadness. Well, that's not a Cathy term, is it? But yeah, it's a definite trope, I think, particularly in shows around this era.
Even setting my personal preferences aside, I'm not a fan of the beard, but it's worth it just for that scene where he shaves it off, and I want to sort of cheer and applaud when he
Yay! It's back. Well, apparently they wanted him to have a real beard, Duchovny, because this isn't a real beard, guys.
No.
But the scheduling didn't work out that he could grow one in time, presumably, so they had to give him a fake beard. He didn't enjoy wearing it. Apparently, it was very itchy, and apparently under the light, the lights on set, and which would be quite hot, in order to light the scene, the beard started to actually melt. So, like. Can you imagine? That would not have been fun.
No, absolutely.
So I don't think David Duchovny enjoyed the beard as little as we enjoyed seeing him with a beard. But yeah, the beard is something else. And on that bombshell, I think we should call it a day for this minute, Adam, and then we can move on and talk about minute 9, where the conversation continues with a few more interesting bits and pieces, including the poster, the famous poster, which is coming very soon. So, Adam, you'll be back joining me for minute 9, so thanks again. And thanks to you all for listening. We'll be back very soon for that minute. But until then, remember, as always, trust no one.
Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether your mom is into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried-and-true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now, everything at Movement is up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale. A watch is a gift that celebrates all the time you spent with Mom. And a Movement watch is even more than that. Movement uses industry-leading materials for their fresh, modern watch designs. From technically complex ceramics to vintage-inspired style. All for an incredible value your wrist and wallet will both love. And with one-size-fits-all convenience and fast free shipping and returns, it's a stress-free shopping experience. Save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with Movement. Get up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale at mvmt.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at mvmt.com.